Hey you guys, Yulia here. So in the last video I showed you a space in the garden where we have been working pretty much all summer, and we cleared out almost all of the plants from there, and I walked you around and I showed you kind of the structure of the space. So in today's video I will be going over my design plan for the space. I'm going to talk about how I pick plants and combine them and make sure that everything works great together. I'm going to make a rough rendering of what the space will look like. Now, of course, none of this is set in stone and things may change once I get out there and I start digging. It always happens, but it helps to see kind of what the space may look like. I use a lot of different software when I design projects. I use SketchUp, Procreate, Illustrator, Photoshop, but for renderings like this, I usually use either Icecape or Garden Puzzle. And I will be using Garden Puzzle app today. As you can see, I already preloaded the photo of the site that I'm working on. Now, Garden Puzzle is by no means a perfect app. It kind of has a limited palette of plants, plus it crashes away too often for my liking, but it is definitely a useful app to do something like this. So as you can see here, we already got our structure here. There's a beautiful pin oak tree, the evergreen arborvitae, American pillar arborvitae hedge, and the redbuds that we planted early in the spring. I also moved the water feature from the right side to the left side. I thought it would be a little bit more balanced that way. But again, nothing is set in stone. I may move it again as I start working on the space. But the first thing I want to do is just include the redbuds and kind of make them a mature specimen. So the redbuds are in place, and I actually had a question from the previous video asking how far the left one was from the house. It's actually planted more than 15 feet away from any of the corner of the foundation. Redbuds get about 20 feet wide, so that is plenty for it to grow and not even touch the house. But it will provide that beautiful structure, the shade that I sorely need. Next step is to decide on the style of the planting that I want here. The plantings could be formal, modern, more naturalistic, and really wild. I am going for something in naturalistic, woodsy feel. This was Woodland Garden before. It's the theme that I would like to go with, especially with the walkway being so winding and informal. Quick note, this area is fenced. And although I do have deer pressure in the front yard and I have to be mindful as to what I plant there, the backyard is fenced, so I can plant pretty much what I want and not just deer-resistant plants. So I decided on the style of this planting, which is going to be naturalistic and woodsy. But how in the world am I going to pick specific plants out of thousands of plants available and millions of cultivars that people came up with over the years? Well, I use site conditions to guide me. In this case, I have part shade area with really sunny pockets. Because the redbuds are still young, some of these areas receive pretty much full sun from 6 hours to 8 hours a day, so I have to keep that in mind. Also, soil. This is dry shade, but in the spring and early summer it stays kind of wet, and we also have acidic soil. Also, for the size, I would like to keep the plants shorter, anywhere from 2 to 3 feet for perennials, and for shrubs maybe 4 to 5 feet. So I wouldn't want my largest shrub to be taller than 5 feet. And I don't want to forget my personal preferences, which are super important because I'm designing this garden for myself. And even if someone else would like to have some hot colors in the space, I personally like more cooler tones like purples and blues, and that is the color theme that I'm going with in the space. So all of the criteria that I mentioned, like the size, site conditions, your personal preferences, style, creates a funnel. And this is a page out of my design guide where you can see all of the things that are going into this funnel, and in the end you come up with your ideal plant for this space. But you actually will come up with a list of many plants that will be suitable for this space. And what I do next is I put all of those plants in a spreadsheet, which is also part of my design guide. And the spreadsheet is incredibly helpful because it shows you the size, the kind of moisture levels that the plant likes, but also the seasons of interest, not just the bloom time, but if the plant has a beautiful bark or decorative leaves off season, it also goes into the spreadsheet. So if you looking at, let's say, late spring and you don't have a lot going on, you can continue looking for those plants that will fill in those gaps. I have all this information. I compiled my list of shrubs, perennials, and grasses and bulbs. I'm going to start combining them in the space. But when I was thinking about this, my initial reaction was that I will be looking out into the space from inside the house a lot more than being in the actual space, because those two windows right there, that's kind of the view that I get every single day, no matter the season. And we actually have a couple more windows in the living room that look out into the space. So I need something evergreen here, or more evergreen interest, especially in the winter, which is coming up. So I'm going to switch this view into the winter mode, and that is actually one of the reasons I like Garden Puzzle, because you can shift it to the seasonal view so you don't miss anything. And one of the evergreens that I absolutely love for our area is mountain laurel. Mountain laurel is a beautiful understory evergreen native here, and normally it gets quite large. I have one, it's about 12 feet tall, and that is a kind of wild variety. There are newer cultivars that get to about 4 to 5, maximum 8 feet tall. So there's different options for that. And the one that I found is Carol. And I'm going to put 3 kind of under this window. They don't get taller than about 4.5 feet tall, which is perfect. And they are evergreen, and they also bloom in the spring with those beautiful flowers. I have 3 right there. I will put another one maybe on the other side and behind the oak, so you can't quite see it, to kind of balance things out. This is pretty good. I have the American pillar, I have the mountain laurels. I would like to have another evergreen more in the forefront, but a shorter one. And there are a lot of different options, but I'm going to go with another mountain laurel. There is mountain laurel called Kalmia angustifolia. They only get to about 18 inches, 2 feet tall. And just see right here. They're kind of like a spreading shrub. And they do love acidic soil, which we do have here in New Jersey. So that is ideal for us here. Okay, this is already a lot more interesting in the winter, which again, remember, this is kind of half of the year here in northern New Jersey. So this is what I will be looking at most of the time. And it's also important because it's providing structure for the garden. I also wanted to have red twig dogwood, because not only it is absolutely beautiful, I actually use red twig dogwoods for my Christmas decor all the time and have to buy them, and I'd rather have shrubs in my own garden. Now there is one that is called Arctic Fire by Proven Winners. It is a lot shorter than, you know, the giant red twig dogwoods. They can get quite big. So I will kind of disperse them all throughout this space. So there is a connection, and just this beautiful, beautiful color. And if it snows, again, here in New Jersey with that snow and that evergreen interest in the red twigs, that will be just gorgeous. This is a really good structural foundation, but I would like to go further and add some blooming plants like Helleborus, which are wonderful, wonderful evergreen flowers. And they have very long season of interest. There is Helleborus niger that said buds already. I checked mine yesterday and they are about to bloom. They will bloom in sometime in November and definitely by Christmas. So I will add some of those here, kind of disperse them all throughout the garden. And they come in so many different colors. There's so many different beautiful varieties, and they can do very well in dry shade and planted around other shrubs. So there is some winter interest going on here already. I love it. Okay, so I think we have a great foundation, and let's move into the spring season. There you go, beautiful color, but we definitely can take spring to a next level. And this is when I start to refer to the spreadsheet a lot, because I want to see what is going on in March time and April and May. And what's going on are a lot of bulbs. So what I'm going to add are daffodils, which, by the way, I already have a lot of in this space. So we can kind of have them everywhere. Those beautiful spring flowers, fragrant, deer resistant if you have deer. Just have drifts, and there's so many different varieties of them. Oops. Okay. That looks good for now, and I will move things around as we go. I also have some leucodiums here. I can add some fritillarias, which are beautiful spring bulbs. There are many different types. I like the ones that are darker blooming. Those are also deer resistant and vole, mice resistant. They're not very pleasant smelling, so nobody likes to eat them. So I'm going to add some more fritillarias. Then you can add some crocuses, some snowdrops. So beautiful, beautiful spring display there. I will add a couple of tulips in here. Now for tulips, again, this is fenced. I'm so sorry for you guys if you don't have fenced garden and you have deer situation, but this is a perfect opportunity for me to enjoy my tulips. I will go with some of the pink varieties, but also darker varieties like, let's say, Queen of Night. And here is a huge tip to take away from this. When you start combining plants, it can be very intimidating, but there's some helpful things that you can do is walk around the garden at the time when everything is blooming and kind of see what looks good together. Literally grab one of the daffodils, just pick it and then walk around and see if it looks good with this particular plant or that particular plant. I do that a lot because even those subtleties really make a big difference. Another thing that is very helpful is to pick bouquets out of your garden. It's not only so enjoyable, but also when you see all of that in kind of one space, you can imagine, oh, but what if I have one space combined with all of these different plants? And I find that really inspirational. So this is actually inspired by one of the bouquets that I gathered this spring. All right, so the spring looks really good, but let's switch to summer and see what's happening there. Nothing, nothing is happening. And this is a lot of times what happens in regular gardens. They're very heavy in the spring planting because that's when people tend to go to the garden centers and everything is blooming. They're buying the shrubs and the plants and the bulbs. And then it's all green in the summer, which there's nothing wrong with green, but we would like to have some color. So once again, I go back to my spreadsheet, going through that funnel, going through the site conditions, coming up with the plants and seeing what does well in the summer and what blooms a very long time and looks good together. One of my top plants for a situation like this is this part shade. However, echinaceas do very well for me in those situations. They actually kind of do better in part shade for me. So I'm going to include some echinaceas here. Okay, so we're already starting to see some color. I'm really conflicted about this water feature, whether I wanted to screen it a little bit or just plant a couple of shorter things around it. We'll see. But here I'll kind of disperse a bunch of echinaceas here. Okay, and this type, there's another type here which is a lot brighter, but I kind of want things subtle here. Maybe I should have a few of these. We'll see. We'll see. And another thing that I have going on here are phlox. Again, I am sorry if you have deer because they will eat phlox. I want to have like a drift of, this is Stolonifera. It's a native phlox, really pretty. And blue, just the way I like it. And I have this one plant here that I highly recommend, which is Geranium roseanne. It blooms for such a long, long time. Right here, it has this purplish flowers, just gorgeous. And I'm going to plant it along the walkway everywhere, kind of dotted around. Maybe not as much. And I'm going to incorporate other hardy geraniums as well. I probably will plant 3 different types. I've been kind of obsessed with hardy geraniums lately because they are workhorses, they are deer resistant, and they bloom for a very long time. And some of the geraniums, like the big root geraniums, are evergreen, so they kind of provide that beautiful carpet in the winter as well. Okay, so I think I have a lot of little blooming flowers, which I love. I love that kind of fluffy texture, but I would like to add some boldness to this. And what other plant to add boldness than a hydrangea? So I'm going to add some smooth hydrangeas here. There are a lot of different varieties now. I probably wouldn't go with Annabelle or Incredible. I want something a little bit more subtle, maybe like a flowerful. They have really strong stems, but what I love is that bold flower that lasts for a very long time in the garden as well. So even when they dry, they look absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to have a few here and there. And what's great about them, as this garden will start to become more shaded, they're very tolerant of that. So I have that going on for the summer. I do have oak leaf hydrangea actually here already. There's an oak leaf Queen of Hearts right here behind, oops, make it bigger. It's kind of like, it will be behind that mountain laurel, but also has beautiful flowers. And another couple of things that I would love to include are grasses. Grasses provide so much texture. So let's find some grasses. They are different calyxes of different sizes and heights. I can also include some Dischampsia cespitosa, which has beautiful seed heads. So here we can add, oops, can add some more. And as you build your garden, you kind of see those little pockets where you can add some more shrubs, some perennials. Right, I think this is enough with a summer color. It is very full and colorful, just the way I like it. But let's see what it looks like in the fall and if we have an overlap with the fall interest as well. Beautiful, beautiful fall color with hardy geraniums. Surprise, surprise, hardy geraniums have amazing fall color. And those dogwoods and also the redbuds have that beautiful golden color, but there is no flowers. So you can see absolutely no flowers. So what do I have here for the flowers? Of course, I have anemones. So let's include some anemones. And I actually almost don't want to have too many flowers because of that fall color is so overwhelming. And look at these beautiful anemones. There are many different varieties that you can have. You can do a drift of them. And the great thing about anemones is that their rosette is kind of small, so you don't really see them during summer, and then bam, there's a big surprise in the fall with their gorgeous, gorgeous flowers. Some of this here, some in the forefront. Oh, I think this is lovely. Let me see if I can add some more things. You know what? I actually don't want to overdo it. I think I'm pretty happy with the diversity of plants that I have here. I could add some of the fall blooming crocuses or colchicums, which is kind of an unusual surprise when you're walking through your fall garden to see bulbs blooming like that. But I am really happy with what this looks like. So let's go back to the winter again and see what's going on. All right, so that's great. We got some shrub layer, we got some evergreens, and some blooming helleborus in the spring. Lots of beautiful color in the summer. It changes, but also beautiful color. Fall with lots of fall color. Quick note about the native versus non-native ratio. My personal quota is 50%. In this space, I am kind of using it as for the diversity as 50%. It's actually more than 50% natives. But because I have this pin oak here and these two redbuds, if you plant a native tree, the coefficient of that native biomass is a lot larger than planting perennials. I know it sounds very complicated, and I actually have specific formulas for that as to how to count native versus non-native biomass. If you're interested in that, I can compile an Excel spreadsheet for you so you can see how to calculate that. But we're definitely good here as for the native biomass and also diversity. And I think overall this is a very beautiful garden. So the next step for me is to find the source for the stone and start building the path and replanting some of the plants and see how much I can do in the following couple of months before the end of the year. This is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this process and learned something new. Let me know in the description down below what other plants that I can include in this area that are okay with these site conditions, or what are your favorite plants. And thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.